Hey, welcome back, knife nerds and everyday care people. It's your boy, the Big Canucker, and I don't know. I guess we're here at part 2 of our Spyderco Brower versus our Spyderco Canis, and it wasn't really kind of more of a direct head-to-head competition as it is. There was 2 knives that kind of interest me, and I mean, the first one I wanted to buy a Spyderco Military in the purple. With the G10 and the S110V. That was the knife I kind of went there, and I thought my buddy there, Steven, had one in stock or was getting one, so I had my hopes high for that. I wanted to buy a new knife. I mean, it's you get yourself a little bit of Christmas money and it starts burning a hole in your pocket, and so I went there and he didn't have one. So the 2 I was looking at really strongly were the Spyderco Brower and the Spyderco Canis, and I ended up taking the Brower home. And on the drive home, I immediately regretted not picking up the Canis. And so I kind of just did a little bit of a first impressions of the Spyderco Brower, and now we're here to have a little bit of a first impressions over the Spyderco Canis. And before we did the Brower, it was just kind of an impromptu. I wanted to get something up online, and so I was sitting in front of my doctor's office, so I whipped out the phone and said, let's do one. And I had some people stared at me pretty strangely, and I didn't want to be kind of whipping around my knife and foliate and all this stuff, and I'm right in front of a doctor's office, and all of a sudden I got the old fuzz knocking on my window telling me, put your hands above your head, your arms behind your back, or whatever. So that's why that video wasn't too crazy knife intensive. Next time I do an on the fly or in the car, I'll make sure that I'm someplace quiet where I can really show off the knife. So let us head over to the tabletop and we'll have a look at this Canis. We'll look at the specs, and I'll give you my kind of first impressions on this. Alright, so of course it comes in a beautiful Spyderco box. Hey, they started to hand out these little Spyderco stickers, which is really connect, so hopefully I can get a whole bunch more of those. So I'm going to put those off. And of course it comes in the little bubble wrap. Now there is no little thing for moisture because it is the S30V steel, so there's no worry about any sort of rust along the way in transport, so there's none of that there. So just to give you an idea of the size of this bugger here, this is my last purchase over at Alberta Firearms and Hardware and Variety. This is the Paramilitary 2, and you can see that it is very, very, that's going to be one of the major competitors against this Canis, is going to be this Paramilitary 2. And of course here we've got the Para 3, which is, some say that all 3 of these are really tactical type knives, and that's the real claim to fame of this Spyderco Canis, is that it is a tactical knife. But I myself and a lot of reviewers out there found that this is a really quite a good EDC knife. So let's put that aside here, these off to the side, and we'll just talk about the old Spyderco Canis. Now, this is designed by a fellow by the name of Kelly McCann, who is a world-leading expert in counterterrorism, anti-terrorism, close combat, and all aspects of security. And he's the one who designed this knife. I gotta be truthful, I'm not exactly 100% sure who Kelly McCann is. I've never seen an interview on the fellow, but based upon the design of this knife, I really would be interested to probably talk to the guy and figure out what some of his ideas on how he designed this knife, because it is got some really traditional things, but it's also got some things that are really quite non-traditional too. One of them being this big swedge here. Now I know that they say it's a weight-saving swedge, and it is. It saves a lot of weight, but it also allows this to cut, slice through that slice through cardboard and heavy material really, really with ease. I was really, really impressed with this, because I did do some cardboard cutting with this yesterday when I first picked it up, and it, like I had to say, once I got into the cardboard, it was amazing. Now, this is a Taichung, Taiwan built Spyderco with the S30V steel. Now this has got the G10 with the peel ply carbon fiber on top of it. Normally, I really, really enjoy this. I've had no issues with that carbon fiber, but this one here is just, it's a different carbon fiber than, say, the Gale Bradley 2, the Gale Bradley 2, I think it looks really, really nice. And I don't have one here handy. It's downstairs, so this is a more dull finish than that Gale Bradley 2. If they're going to do this peel ply carbon fiber, I would like to see that Gail Bradley finish on there more than this one. It just seems way more rich, and it seems way more shiny, and it just seems like it's a better overall finish, tactically too as well. Now let's just see here. So overall blade length is 3.43 inches, which is right in the sweet spot for EDC. It is, you can see, it's a Wharncliffe blade with a slight hollow ground edge here too as well. So it is about half away here, ground up the blade here, but it is a really nice hollow ground blade, and that lends to some real cutting performance. Now, the one thing though I got to say, out of the box, I was not impressed with how sharp this knife was. Now, the Spyderco Brouwer is what I originally took home. That, I have to tell you, was lightsaber sharp. It was cut time and space sharp. This one here was, sharp. If I had to guess, if you guys have seen any sort of knife sharpening videos where they use that best machine, where the smaller the best number, the sharper it is, I would have to say that this one coming out of the box would be somewhere around, say, let's just say 170 or so, where that Spyderco Brouwer was definitely under 100. It was like 80 or so. Like, it was wickedly sharp, where this one was not. And I ended up putting this on a few of my Spyderco and ceramic stones just to give them a quick touch up, and it did bring it out to life really quickly. And then I stropped it a little bit, and it's I gotta tell you, it's definitely hair shaving sharp. As you can see, I gave myself a little bit of a cut with it yesterday, but it's not hair whittling sharp. So I will probably put this on the KME, and just to get it that mirror polished, crazy sharp before I really carry this around. It comes with a lot of other things here that are real Spyderco staples. Spyderco Spidey hole. It is a 4-position left and right, tip up, tip down carry with a spoon clip, which I think is a great clip. It just seems to hold in your pocket really, really well. And I know that it can have a little bit of hot spots here and there, but on this knife so far, I haven't really noticed them. Now this, like I said, this is done in the Taichung plant there in Taiwan, so things are a little bit more rounded than, say, some of the other Spydercos that comes out of Golden, Colorado. They seem to have that little bit extra kind of where they finish things just a little bit more. But I have to say that the jimping here is really, really quite grippy. It's still not, let's just see here. It's still not as, see, this one here is, they're both comfortable. And this one here, you can really feel that it grips into your thumb. And I could say that it would, if you were pressing this as hard as you can, your thumb meat is going to give out before this jimping is going to give out. Where on this one here, I would say that your thumb would probably slip before the thumb meat would tear. So that just, I don't know if that's a visual you want to put in your head or not, but that's the way it is. Now it does have a lanyard, and I gotta say, I love Spydercos that have lanyards. I like tying myself this leather lanyard, and this leather lanyard is just nothing expensive. It's just some bootlaces that I get from Mark's Works Warehouse, leather bootlaces, and I learned to tie these from a fellow by the name of Randy Johnson. So if you want to know how to tie yourself a nice beautiful lanyard, check out Randy Johnson's channel. And he's been away for a little bit. I wish he would come back because I loved his channel, and I've tried to contact him to do an interview with him because I just would love to talk to the guy. I think he's a really interesting fella, and I'd love to hear his opinions on a lot of knife things. So a little bit of a shout out to any of you other YouTubers. If you happen to know Randy Johnson, send him a message on my behalf. Get him to contact me at thebigcanucker@gmail.com, and I would love to just to set up an interview over Zoom to chat with him if he's game. Just to let you know that because I'd love to talk to the fella. All right, let's continue on with this a little bit more here. Closed length here is 4.73 inches, so it is smaller than, say, the Paramilitary 2. Your edge length is 3.43 inches, so it is, as long as this blade is, you don't lose any edge whatsoever. And like I said, this Wharncliffe blade is really such a tactical blade, and it's designed, as you're stabbing into something, it's designed to penetrate and cut. So it cuts at the same time as it penetrates. So you're not just making a hole, you're making a slashed hole, if that makes any sense. That's why these are so tactical, while you see something like the Yojimbo having that Warncliffe edge, it just leaves a nasty, nasty hole that's harder to seal up after you're done. And I guess if your life depends upon on that, then I guess the stopping power is there, but I tend to use these as tools more than weapons. And this, even though this is designed predominantly as a weapon, it is still a fantastic cutting tool. All right, so the weight is 4.10 ounces, which is really so light compared to what you're getting here. You can see that really did a good job lightening. I'm not sure if you can see inside there too as well, but it does come with nested steel liners that are weight saved. They got some weight saving holes in there too as well, so it adds your strength without adding a whole lot of weight to it. And of course, it does have the world famous Spyderco compress and lock, which I gotta say I think that is, so far, it is my favorite lock in any knife. I mean, the Andrew Demko Shark Lock, I wanna feel one of those knives. I have a feeling that might be the one that's gonna win in the end, but for right now, I love flicking around anything that has this compression lock. And it not only is it a really strong lock, it is also a lock that allows you to open and close the knife without putting your fingers inside the path of the knife. So on a liner lock or a Reeves integral lock, frame lock, a lot of those locks, you have to put your thumb in there, the blade swings, and there's the chance that you can cut yourself. Or this one here, you can actually close it and your fingers are nowhere near there. And you can actually open it too as well. So you don't necessarily need to flick it or anything. You can use the lock, just open it up. And a reason that this is so free swinging is this does come with phosphor bronze washers, but it has the pivot and barrel system. And that's basically means that you've got your pivot in through the center that gives you your strength, but you've got a barrel over top of it that is attached, not attached, but it's attached frictionally to the blade, and the barrel swings completely over top of it. So one of these days I'll take this apart, and it's still the exact same system here as the Paramilitary 2, where you don't need to have ball bearings to have such a sweet, smooth lock. This Spyderco barrel system is wonderful, and this is right out of the box too. Right out of the box, it is drop shutty, and so there's no worries about that. And it probably will get even smoother as it breaks in a little bit more. The only thing that I did notice this coming out of the box is it was a tiny bit raspy. Must have not had a lot of lube on there from the factory, and it's because when you open it up, you could hear the little shh, shh, and that was just basically probably the your ball bearing, your detent ball probably wearing a path on the blade, and then I put a little bit of lube inside there and it quieted it right completely down. So no worries there at all. Now, another big plus on here is you've got yourself all T8. There's no T6 body screws in there, and just it's such a good thing. T8, T10, the higher the better. I guess it's probably the point of diminishing returns, but T8, T10 Torx screws on there. You don't have to worry about stripping them out. As like some of the T6s definitely can be stripped out, and of course you do have T6s here on your Spidey clip, but you don't have them on your body, which is fantastic. Now it is complete flow through construction, so it is able to be just kind of cleaned up with just hose down if you want, or blow it out, or run the water straight through it. That's really, really nice, especially in a tactical situation. You don't want something getting in there so much that you can't open up your knife anymore, because if you're relying on this to save your life, you want to have it open as possible. So that's just kind of my first impressions on this Canis. It seems like it's a really quite a good slicer. It's a very, very flicky knife. I'm impressed with the ergonomics on it, and I'm impressed with how interesting this blade is. Now, a lot of people have said that they don't really like the looks of it. I have got no problems with the looks whatsoever. I think it's a sharp looking knife. A little bit on the, I think, the expensive side for kind of what you're getting compared to something like the PM2, which is a real staple of EDC. You're definitely paying a premium for some new design here with this Canis. Now, is it worth, if you've got a Yojimbo, is it worth going to this Canis? I know. I think you'll have to make that decision out. I had the Yojimbo. I ended up selling it because I was a little bit, I mean, it just didn't do it for me. I didn't like the way the bottom here went into nothing. And, you know, Michael Janis had his design elements in there. And I'm not going to say that he's a bad designer. Nowhere. I mean, he's probably knows more about knife designing than I'll ever know. I just didn't like that small tail on that Yojimbo. And that was one of my biggest pet peeves on it, as well as I didn't like how fragile that tip looked. Or this one here, as you can see, it's got a reinforced tip. And that gives me a lot more faith in the tip of this knife. So it's not an incredibly thick blade either, too, as well. You know, especially compared to the PM2 here. What do we got? The blade thickness here is 3 millimeters, where this one here is 3.7, so almost 4 mil. So there is, of course, this is definitely not a prior. This is a slicer. So, all right. That is kind of my first little bit of opinion, and I am so much more happier that I got the Canis over the Brouwer. I returned the Brouwer, and the boys over at Alberta Firearms, Stephen, no problems. Because, I mean, the knife basically sat in its box in my car on the way home. I took it home, put it on my desk, drove it back out there, and switched it so it wasn't used at all. And he was a mensch, and he helped me out with that, no problem. So look for my full review on this, where I kind of leave a number on this, as well as I talk about any sort of bad points from EDCing this, and we'll see what this is like in the future here. So if you like what you saw, don't forget to give me the old thumbs up, as well as subscribe. Help me spread my voice. Now, please stay safe out there. Keep your stick on the ice, the shiny side up. This is the Big Canucker, saying adios.